This bottle is in your pantry right now, and it contains 0 maple syrup. 0. Despite the maple leaf on the label, despite the Canadian imagery, despite the word maple in giant letters, it is corn syrup with artificial flavoring sold at maple syrup prices. We analyzed 7 fake maple syrup brands dominating Canadian grocery stores. The deception runs deeper than you imagine. Mrs. Butterworth's thick texture is corn syrup and chemical thickeners, not maple content. Great value. Maple syrup is artificial flavoring designed to mimic what real maple syrup used to taste like before corporations took over. 30 years ago, most Canadians knew what real maple syrup tasted like. Today, entire generations have grown up on fake syrup, thinking it is normal. The corporations count on this ignorance. They profit while Canadian maple producers lose market share to chemical imposters. The health impact is devastating, especially for seniors. Blood sugar spikes, inflammation, empty calories disguised as natural sweetness. This investigation exposes the brands, the corporate conspiracy, and the health crisis hiding in plain sight. Do not touch that syrup bottle until you watch this entire video. What we reveal about unlabeled restaurant syrup will change how you eat breakfast forever. Before we expose specific brands, you need to understand how Canada lost its maple syrup industry. In the golden era of the 1980s and the 1990s, real maple syrup was standard in Canadian homes. Local producers dominated regional markets, and Canadians could easily distinguish real from fake by taste. Maple syrup was affordable for average families, and it represented our natural heritage. Then came the corporate takeover during the first 2 decades of the 21st century. Multinational food corporations entered the Canadian market with mass-produced maple-flavored syrups. Their aggressive pricing undercut real maple producers, while clever marketing campaigns associated fake syrup with Canadian identity. The maple leaf became a marketing tool rather than a symbol of authentic Canadian production. Today we are facing a crisis. Roughly 80% of maple syrup on Canadian shelves contains 0 maple content. Real Canadian maple producers are struggling financially. Entire generations have been raised on artificial sweeteners, thinking they are consuming the real thing. And the health consequences are mounting, especially for seniors who consume these products regularly. Let's break down the worst offenders one by one. Number 7. Log Cabin Maple Flavored Syrup. This brand sets up the perfect deception with rustic Canadian branding featuring log cabin imagery. It is marketed as traditional and authentic, with premium pricing that targets quality-conscious consumers. You will find it widely available in Canadian grocery chains, positioned as a premium option. But here is the reality. The first ingredient is high fructose corn syrup. There is 0 maple content, despite the maple leaf packaging. The maple flavor comes from artificial flavoring created in laboratories, not from maple trees. It also causes faster blood sugar spikes than real maple syrup, creating health risks for regular consumers. The corporate connection runs deep. Log Cabin is owned by Pinnacle Foods, now part of Conagra Brands, an $11 billion multinational corporation. They control multiple fake syrup brands globally and profit immensely from Canadian nostalgia marketing. What is particularly disturbing is how this brand specifically targets seniors on fixed incomes. Their pricing strategy exploits retirees seeking quality products. The blood sugar spikes are especially dangerous for diabetic management among older Canadians. And unlike real maple syrup, Log Cabin contains none of the nutritional minerals found in authentic maple products. Number 6. Aunt Jemima. This syrup was rebranded from the controversial Aunt Jemima name, but the product remains essentially unchanged. It features maple imagery throughout its packaging design and is positioned as a breakfast tradition. You will find it served in restaurants across Canada, often without clear disclosure. The reality is simple. It is entirely artificial, made with refined syrups and flavoring. No maple sap is used in the production process whatsoever. Its high sugar concentration actually exceeds real maple syrup, and chemical preservatives extend its shelf life far beyond what natural products could achieve. The corporate connection is massive. It is owned by the Quaker Oats Company, which is a PepsiCo subsidiary. That is a $79 billion parent corporation that dominates the artificial syrup market. Their rebranding strategy was designed to maintain market control while sidestepping controversy. What is most disturbing is how frequently this syrup is served in restaurants without disclosure. Seniors consume it unknowingly when dining out, believing they are getting authentic maple syrup. The high sugar content worsens heart health and inflammation, particularly concerning for older adults. Restaurant staff are often unaware it is not real maple syrup and are unable to inform customers properly. Number 5. Mrs. Butterworth's syrup. This product's setup is brilliant from a marketing perspective. It features an iconic bottle design recognized for generations. Its thick texture suggests premium quality. Older Canadians trust it as traditional, and it is positioned as a family breakfast staple passed down through generations. But the reality tells a different story. That thickness comes from corn syrup and chemical additives, not from natural maple concentration. There is zero maple content in the formulation. The taste comes from artificial flavoring designed to mimic maple. Each serving contains a heavy sweetness concentration that exceeds real maple syrup. The corporate connection reveals market manipulation. Mrs. Butterworth's is owned by Conagra Brands, the same parent company as Log Cabin. They profit from multiple brands competing against each other while containing virtually identical ingredients. It is a market strategy that creates the illusion of choice. The disturbing detail is how the familiar design exploits senior trust. The heavy sweetness interferes with medication timing for many older adults. Blood sugar spikes are particularly dangerous for seniors with sensitive health conditions. And despite its premium positioning, it is nutritionally inferior to real maple syrup in every measurable way. Number 4. No-name maple-flavored syrup. Loblaws positions its store brand with budget pricing and yellow packaging that suggests a value option. At $2.99, it attracts pension-dependent seniors looking to stretch their dollars. It is cleverly positioned as an affordable Canadian choice for budget-conscious consumers. The reality reflects its extremely low cost. It uses artificial ingredients with no maple sap in production. It is a simple combination of artificial flavoring and a corn syrup base. It actually contains higher sugar per serving than real maple syrup, delivering more empty calories. The corporate connection is a Canadian retail giant. No Name is owned by Loblaws Companies Limited, a $58 billion Canadian retail monopoly that controls pricing across multiple store brands. They profit significantly from senior budget constraints with these artificial alternatives. What is most disturbing is how it targets seniors struggling with pension costs. The higher sugar consumption than real maple syrup leads to worse health outcomes. It contains zero of the antioxidants found in genuine maple syrup. It is a false economy. The savings come at the cost of nutrition and health. Number 3. Great value maple-flavored syrup. Walmart's store brand setup is brilliantly executed with wide distribution available in every major Canadian city. The packaging features maple leaf imagery that suggests Canadian origin. The big box retailer convenience makes it an easy grab for shoppers trying to complete their grocery list in one stop. But the reality is pure deception. It contains artificial flavoring designed to mimic real maple, and it has a high glycemic load that affects blood sugar stability. There is no maple content, despite the packaging imagery suggesting otherwise. It is mass-produced in industrial facilities where cost efficiency is the primary concern. The corporate connection is Walmart, the largest retailer in North America. Great Value is Walmart Canada's private label brand, part of a $611 billion parent corporation. Walmart Inc. is the largest retailer in Canada by volume, and it controls the supply chain from production to shelf, maximizing profits at every stage. What is particularly disturbing is how its wide availability increases accidental substitution for real maple syrup. The packaging deliberately misleads consumers about Canadian sourcing. Its high glycemic load worsens digestive issues in seniors. The shelf placement beside real maple creates confusion that benefits corporate profits at the expense of consumer health. Sobeys positions its store brand as a quality option, cleverly placing it beside real maple syrup on shelves. Its marketing suggests a premium store brand experience. It specifically targets health-conscious breakfast choices, with packaging that implies natural ingredients and healthier options. The reality is different. It contains refined sugars and artificial flavor enhancers, and there is no maple content in the ingredient formulation. Chemical preservatives extend its shelf life far beyond natural products. It also contains a higher sugar concentration than advertised, creating health risks for regular consumers. The Corporate Connection is another Canadian retail giant. Compliments is owned by Empire Company Limited, a $28 billion Canadian retail corporation that controls Sobeys, IGA, and other major chains. They profit enormously from strategic shelf placement that creates confusion between real and artificial products. The disturbing detail is how deliberate shelf placement creates confusion for seniors when shopping. Seniors seeking lighter breakfast options unknowingly add high-sugar products to their diets. The strategic positioning exploits trust in store brands. Health-conscious marketing masks artificial ingredients that may worsen existing health conditions. Number 1. Restaurant table syrup, unlabeled. This might be the most insidious setup of all. These syrups are served in diners, breakfast chains, and restaurants across Canada with no clear labeling about artificial content. Customers assume they are being served maple syrup. It is standard practice across the Canadian food service industry, creating a systemic deception. The reality is shocking. Most restaurants serve artificial table syrup with zero maple content in approximately 90% of establishments. There are no disclosure requirements for artificial ingredients in many service settings. These syrups typically contain higher sugar content than real maple syrup, affecting customer health without their knowledge. The Corporate Connection extends through the entire food service supply chain. These syrups are supplied by major food service distributors like Sysco and Gordon Food Service, who control supply chains across North America. Restaurants choose the cheapest options to maximize profit margins. There is no regulation requiring maple syrup disclosure on menus or during service. The most disturbing detail is how seniors dining out consume these products unknowingly. They ingest far higher sugar than expected, which affects heart health and digestive systems. It completely removes the ability to make informed dietary choices. Even restaurants that market themselves as Canadian breakfast chains typically serve artificial syrup to maximize profits. Let's talk about what is really in Canadian maple syrup. Not just one brand, all of them, because they all come from the same artificial system. The common ingredients across fake brands reveal the industry's true nature. High fructose corn syrup serves as the primary base. Artificial maple flavoring created in laboratories provides the taste. Chemical preservatives ensure shelf stability, and refined sugar concentrates deliver sweetness without nutrition. These products share production facilities with the same factories producing multiple competing brands. Industrial production methods are identical across brands despite different packaging and pricing. Quality control focuses on consistency rather than nutrition, and cost optimization is prioritized over health outcomes in every production decision. The industry standards harm seniors particularly. There is no requirement to disclose artificial ingredients prominently on packaging. The term maple-flavored legally allows for zero maple content. Glycemic impact testing is not required for labeling. And senior health considerations are ignored in formulation despite this demographic being major consumers. Consider the scale of this deception. 7 major brands, most owned by just 3 massive corporations, all using identical artificial formulations but with different packaging and different prices, creating the same health risks. Corporate control is concentrated. Conagra Brands controls both Log Cabin and Mrs. Butterworth's. PepsiCo dominates restaurant supply through Quaker Oats. Canadian retailers profit enormously from store brand deception. Meanwhile, real maple producers have lost approximately 60% of their market share to artificial alternatives over the past 3 decades. This has created a health crisis. About 65% of Canadian seniors consume artificial syrup regularly, often daily. Blood sugar instability affects roughly 40% of diabetic seniors who consume these products. Inflammation markers increase with artificial sweetener consumption, and medication timing is frequently disrupted by unpredictable glucose spikes after consuming these products. What is most concerning is the corporate knowledge behind this crisis. Food scientists employed by these corporations understand senior health vulnerabilities. Artificial sweeteners are specifically designed for addiction and repeat consumption. Marketing specifically targets senior nostalgia and budget constraints, and health consequences have been well documented but ignored for profit margins. So, if Canadian maple syrup has been largely replaced by artificial imposters, what should consumers do? To identify real maple syrup, check the ingredient list. It should contain only maple syrup or pure maple syrup. Look for Grade A classifications which indicate authentic Canadian maple. Be aware of price points. Real maple syrup typically costs $12 to $18 per 500 milliliters. Local farmers markets often offer direct from producer options that support Canadian farmers. For budget-friendly alternatives, consider buying real maple syrup in bulk during harvest season when prices are lower. You can dilute real maple syrup with a small amount of water to extend its use. Use smaller portions. Real maple syrup is more flavorful, so you need less. And freeze portions to extend shelf life and reduce waste. When dining out, use these restaurant strategies. Ask specifically if the syrup is real maple syrup. Request ingredient information from restaurant staff. Consider bringing a small container of real maple syrup when dining out if you regularly eat breakfast away from home. And choose restaurants that explicitly advertise authentic Canadian maple products. For health-conscious choices, always read ingredient labels completely before purchasing. Avoid anything labeled maple-flavored or pancake syrup if you are seeking real maple. Monitor your own blood sugar response to different syrup types if you have health concerns. Consult your healthcare provider about artificial sweetener impacts if you have existing health conditions. Here's what every Canadian needs to understand. The maple syrup industry that exists today is not the industry that built Canada's reputation. What changed? A corporate takeover replaced family maple producers. Artificial production methods eliminated actual maple content. Marketing deception normalized fake syrup consumption. Profit maximization was prioritized over consumer health at every turn. The current reality is troubling. Approximately 80% of maple syrup sold contains zero maple. Consumers unknowingly consume artificial sweeteners daily, thinking they are getting natural products. Blood sugar management is complicated by hidden ingredients. Canadian maple heritage is exploited for corporate profit rather than supporting authentic producers. This creates a choice framework for every consumer. Every syrup purchase represents a choice between authentic versus artificial products. It's a choice between health versus convenience. It's about supporting Canadian producers versus multinational corporations. Ultimately, it's about making informed decisions versus accepting corporate deception. Canada's food crisis will not be solved by avoiding artificial syrup alone, but it will start with questioning what we've normalized as Canadian food. And here's the bigger question. If this is happening with something as simple and universal as maple syrup, what else in our kitchens might not be what it claims to be? Shocked by what you have learned? Hit subscribe now and join our food investigation community. Comment below with which brand you have been using, and I will reply with healthier alternatives. This information needs to spread, so share it before breakfast tomorrow.